is inside. Later, Dracula's friends overhear Erica talking about him, but they completely misunderstand the conversation, thinking she's talking about how much she likes him. Hoping to impress her, Dracula musters up the courage to ask her out, and to his surprise, she agrees to meet him at a Mexican restaurant on the ship that night. Meanwhile, Dennis's dog starts sniffing around and eventually discovers the mad scientist. The dog barks aggressively at him, sensing something is wrong. But Dennis, confused, pulls the dog away, unaware of the danger. As the ship reaches its next stop, a deserted island, Dracula suggests that Mavis take some time alone with Johnny while he babysits Dennis. Mavis, however, starts feeling uneasy about her father's recent behavior. She confides in Johnny, telling him that she never imagined her father could be with someone other than her mother. Meanwhile, Dracula and Erica enjoy dinner at the Mexican restaurant. As they talk, Dracula opens up about his late wife and how he raised Mavis alone. Dracula tells Erica that he has spent his entire life devoted to his daughter and has never considered getting married again. Erica, in turn, tells him that her grandfather raised her after her parents passed away. Meanwhile, Mavis and Johnny are enjoying their time on the beach until Dennis finds them and excitedly tells them that Grandpa Dracula went out to dinner with Erica. Shocked, Mavis rushes to find them and confronts her father, arguing that this is supposed to be a family vacation. At the same time, the mad scientist gets into an argument with Erica for trying to kill Dracula behind his back. Dracula's friends overhear their conversation, and when the scientist realizes they know too much, he and Erica are forced to reveal themselves in front of Dracula. The ship finally reaches its last destination, Atlantis. All the passengers disembark to explore the legendary city. Dracula searches for Mavis, deciding it's time to be honest with her. He doesn't want to keep any more secrets. Meanwhile, Mavis follows her father underground, eventually reaching the place where the weapon of destruction is hidden. She watches as Dracula saves Erica when she accidentally triggers a trap, proving to her that there's no difference between them. Dracula helps anyone in danger, no matter who they are. To test this further, Erica deliberately sets off more traps, but Dracula rescues her every time. However, once she finally retrieves the weapon, she immediately takes it to her grandfather. The mad scientist is thrilled, believing he can finally destroy Dracula and all the monsters. Back on the ship, the monsters gather for a grand dance party, unaware that it is actually part of the scientist's plan. Mavis is shocked when she learns that her father has fallen for someone who was trying to kill him, but Dracula reassures her that no matter what happens, he will always be there for his family. Suddenly, the mad scientist and Erica appear. Dracula is stunned when he realizes that Erica is actually the scientist's granddaughter. The scientist then begins playing the Song of Destruction, awakening a massive sea monster. Panic spreads as the monster emerges, and the monsters all try to flee before it destroys everything. However, instead of escaping, the monster targets Dracula. Just as it's about to attack, Erica steps in to protect Dracula. She tells her grandfather that he was wrong about monsters and apologizes to Dracula for lying to him. She admits that she was wrong about everything and even confesses her feelings for him. Her grandfather, furious at her betrayal, angrily replays the destructive melody, commanding the monster to attack once again. But Johnny quickly starts playing an upbeat song instead, changing the monster's mood. The monster, instead of attacking, begins to dance along with the music. The scientist, refusing to give up, tries playing his destructive melody louder, attempting to regain control. In response, Johnny plays an even more powerful song, engaging in a musical battle with the scientist. The competition continues until Johnny finally plays a song that completely calms the monster, making it surrender peacefully. With the battle over, Dracula rescues the mad scientist from falling off a high ledge. At that moment, Dracula tells him that despite their differences in appearance, they are not so different after all. Moved by Dracula's words, the scientist realizes his mistakes. He apologizes to all the monsters for hunting them for so many years. To make amends, he announces that the entire cruise trip will now be free as compensation. Dracula and his family return to their hotel. One night, Dracula takes Erica to the rooftop and finally proposes to her. She happily accepts. Everyone cheers, and Mavis excitedly tells her father's wife that she can't wait for his big announcement. Dracula steps up to the microphone, struggling to find the right words after changing his mind. In the end, he announces the expansion of the hotel due to the Inker Mavis is visibly disappointed when she hears the news, and later, Dracula runs into his wife, Erica, who asks him why he changed his decision. Pretending not to hear her over the music, he quickly runs off, only to find her waiting. Meanwhile, the inventor, who is actually Erica's grandfather, overhears Johnny saying that he feels bad for making Mavis sad because he isn't a monster or even a vampire. At that moment, the inventor tells Johnny that he can help him. He reveals that he has an invention in his lab that can turn him into a monster. Excited, Johnny follows him to his lab, which is packed with strange gadgets. The inventor warns him not to touch anything until he finds the right device. Finally, he presents Johnny with a special emotion stone, explaining that it has the power to transform any human into a monster. However, they need to test it on an animal first to see if it works. They try it on the inventor's pet, and to their amazement, the experiment is successful. Suddenly, Dracula hears a strange noise and rushes into the lab, only to find Johnny, now transformed into a bizarre-looking monster. Excited, Johnny tells Dracula that Erica's grandfather helped him and that he can't wait to show Mavis. He eagerly rushes off to find her. Realizing the trouble this will cause, Dracula tries to stop him, knowing that Mavis will be devastated if she finds out he was involved in her husband's transformation. Panicked, Dracula quickly grabs the transformation device, trying to figure out a way to fix everything. Dracula and Johnny head to the lab to find a way to turn Johnny back into his normal self. On the way, they run into Dennis, who is shocked by Johnny's new monster form. Johnny, excited about his transformation, wants to show Mavis right away. Dracula, realizing the trouble this could cause, quickly follows Johnny. To stop Dennis from realizing what's happening, he hypnotizes him and convinces him that Johnny is just a regular monster impersonating his dad. As Dracula rushes after Johnny, the transformation device accidentally hits him, turning him from a vampire into a regular human. He falls out of the window, and Johnny tries to save him. Everyone panics when they realize that Johnny has become a monster, while Dracula is now a powerless human who can't fly. Dracula desperately searches for the device to turn himself back into a vampire, but when he finds it, it's already broken. Heartbroken, he begs Johnny not to tell Mavis about any of this. They rush back to the inventor, hoping he can fix it, but he tells them that the device is beyond repair. The crystal inside, which is responsible for the transformation, is extremely rare. He spent 3 years searching for it. The only way to find another one is to go to South America, but the journey is incredibly dangerous, with little chance of survival. Dracula secretly tells Frankenstein that he and Johnny are going on a trip to retrieve the crystal and asks him not to tell Mavis. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Dracula's friends accidentally touch the transformation device through the fountain water, turning them all into humans, including Frankenstein. On the plane to South America, Dracula is extremely nervous. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Mavis goes into her father's room and finds a note he wrote, admitting that he wanted to retire and hand over the hotel to her. She realizes she was right all along. Her father did plan to give her the hotel, but changed his mind at the last minute, and she doesn't know why. Back in South America, Dracula panics when he sees the sun, but Johnny reminds him that he's now a regular human, so he doesn't have to fear it anymore. He can finally enjoy the sunlight like everyone else. They get on a slow-moving bus, which struggles to carry Johnny's massive monster form. Johnny, always enthusiastic, lifts the bus himself and starts singing with the passengers. Meanwhile, Dracula's friends try to keep their transformation a secret from Mavis and the others, but their human forms make everyone suspicious. Mavis and Erica soon see a news report featuring Johnny and Dracula in South America. One of Dracula's friends finally confesses everything to Mavis. Shocked, Mavis immediately calls her father and tells him to return with the crystal as soon as possible. Johnny is thrilled about their jungle adventure, while Dracula remains anxious and uneasy. At one point, Dracula collapses from exhaustion and falls into a river, only to realize that it's filled with aggressive fish. He scrambles out, covered in bites. Meanwhile, Mavis tries to call him again, but his phone has fallen into the water. As they continue their journey, Johnny's pet starts growing larger and larger, and Mavis realizes that Johnny is in danger. He's transforming uncontrollably, just like the pet. Determined to save them, she and Erica decide to travel to South America with the rest of the gang. On the way, Erica reflects on how her perspective on monsters changed after she met Dracula. She used to hate vampires and monsters, but falling in love with Dracula changed her life completely. When they arrive in the jungle, Erica comes up with a plan to find Johnny and Dracula faster. They abandon their hot air balloon and switch to an off-road vehicle instead. Using her enhanced hearing, Mavis pinpoints their location and leads the group toward them. Meanwhile, Dracula and Johnny are still lost in the jungle. Frustrated, Dracula blames Johnny for getting them lost. As they argue, Dracula slips off a high ledge. Johnny, using his newfound monster abilities, quickly saves Dracula before he hits the ground. Realizing that he can fly, Johnny soars into the sky, thrilled by his new powers. That night, they sit by a campfire and talk. Johnny tells Dracula that his problem is that he always focuses on the negatives instead of seeing the bright side of things. Dracula admits that it's hard for him to stay positive. He spent so much of his life alone after losing his wife, and even after remarrying, his main priority has always been protecting Mavis and his family. That's why he built the hotel in the first place. Johnny tells Dracula that he's grateful for everything he's done, and that he considers him family. Just then, Mavis and the others arrive, relieved to find Johnny safe. Erica approaches Dracula and tells him that she knows everything and she still loves him, even as a human. Dracula is shocked to learn that his friends have also turned into humans. Mavis tries to understand why Johnny did this, and he explains that he wanted to become a monster so he could run the hotel alongside her. Dracula finally confesses the truth. He made up the rule about humans not being able to inherit the hotel. Johnny is devastated when he realizes Dracula tricked him. Johnny thought Dracula truly saw him as family, but after realizing he was deceived, he becomes heartbroken. As his emotions spiral, his size increases uncontrollably, making the situation even more dangerous. Mavis, realizing the urgency, asks Erica to continue searching for the crystal with Dracula, while she goes after Johnny before it's too late. Following Johnny's massive footprints, she eventually finds him. Transforming into a bat, she lands in front of him and sincerely apologizes for what her father did. Meanwhile, Dracula and the others reach the deadly reflection cave, where the crystal is hidden. As they enter, they stumble into an underground waterfall and find themselves in a volcanic chamber. Navigating through the dangerous tunnels, Dracula decides to go in first. Suddenly, he realizes the cave is filled with countless glowing crystals. Erica quickly sends Mavis the location of the cave, urging her to bring Johnny there as fast as possible. Back with Johnny, Mavis tries her best to convince him to follow her to the cave. Inside, Dracula and the monsters get separated in the darkness. He reassures them, telling everyone to stay calm. Just then, Mavis arrives and calls out to the others. She immediately runs into Dracula and asks about the crystal. Before they can react, Johnny suddenly bursts into the cave, causing the entire cavern to start collapsing. Dracula and the others rush to escape, dodging falling debris. In the midst of the chaos, the crystal is finally revealed. Mavis quickly grabs it and prepares to activate its energy beam, but she must be careful to avoid the sunlight, which could burn her. With the help of Frankenstein and the rest of the family, she positions herself in the right spot to aim the beam at Johnny safely. As the beam hits him, nothing happens at first. But after hearing some heartfelt words from Mavis, Johnny is finally able to return to his normal self. Overjoyed, Mavis hugs Dracula, and soon all the monsters regain their original forms. On their way back to the hotel, they are met with devastation. The hotel has been completely destroyed by the inventor's pet monster. Dracula, heartbroken, sits in shock. But Johnny reassures him, promising that they'll rebuild it together. Dracula agrees but insists that this time they build it their way, not just his, because this is a new chapter in their lives. A year later, the hotel stands tall once again, designed in the same familiar style, but with a fresh touch. The family reunites, happily living together in their new home. Don't forget to subscribe to AI Tortoise World.